Welcome back to Thoughts with a Therapist. I'm Christine. I'm a therapist. Let's get into it. Recently, I was having a conversation with one of my clients, and we were talking about how they were very overwhelmed with the tasks that they had in front of them. They felt so overwhelmed that sometimes it just got them to a point where they didn't do anything that they actually wanted to do. Instead, they spent a lot of time feeling really anxious and overwhelmed by this task and that task, and I have to do this and I have to do that, and just feeling so overwhelmed with the things they had to do, and then frustrated that they weren't getting them done, and feeling lazy or feeling disappointed in themselves. That is such a tough spot to be in. And as we were talking, it reminded me of experiences I've had. I shared a story with my client that when I was younger, I was kind of messy. Messy is kind of an understatement, but I had a really messy room. I remember my mom getting really frustrated with me and telling me, you've got to clean your room has to be cleaned today. And because there were many times where I would put off cleaning my room, I'd end up with what seemed like this impossible task that just felt like this huge monster in front of me. And I'd get so overwhelmed to the point where I'd just start crying. And thankfully, I had an amazing older sister who she would step in and help me out in the most kindest and compassionate way. She would tell me, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put music on, and for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, we're going to clean as much as we can in this area, and I'll help you. And at that time, at that age, and with how I was feeling, having that support felt so awesome, and I'm so grateful for it now. But it helped me not feel alone, and it helped me feel like I wasn't tackling the situation by myself. We would put music on and we would race to see who could pick up more or how much we could get done in those 10-20 minutes. So hearing my client and remembering how it was like for me, it made me really empathize with where they were at. Unfortunately, some of the things that I've heard from multiple clients, but in particular when we were talking about this, was that they had people in their life that would say, just do it. Just, get up and do it. Make a list and do what's on the list. And they expressed how frustrating that was because, one, they felt unheard and they felt like their emotions weren't being validated, but mostly they felt like they don't get it. They don't understand what is happening inside of me. They don't get how overwhelming this is, that it can feel paralyzing to me at times. I'd like to encourage any of you who are watching, if there are people in your life and they're saying how overwhelmed they are about something and they feel like they just can't get it done, whether it's because they're feeling anxiety or depression, try not to use that kind of language. Well, you just got to get over it, just keep going, just do it. Because sometimes it's not that simple. Instead, offer words of encouragement and support and empathetic words like, man, yeah, that sounds really overwhelming, or it sounds like you're having a really tough time with that. Or even if you are willing and capable, offering some support, right? Maybe someone's telling you, oh, I just feel so overwhelmed. There's so much to do and I haven't even done the dishes, or I haven't even ordered food for the night, or I haven't made dinner, or whatever it may be. Maybe there's a simple and small yet very helpful thing that you can offer for support. Maybe if it's the person that you're living with, maybe saying, okay, well, if I do X, Y, or Z, will that be helpful for you? Will that take some of the load off for you? So please, if at all possible, try to avoid saying things like, well, you should just get over it, or just do it, or just finish what the task is. Just get it over with. And one of the things that we talked about was that sometimes in those situations, you don't have someone there, right? You don't have someone there who's going to say, okay, let's do this together. Sometimes you're by yourself. and there's no one else who's going to carry that load with you. Some of the suggestions I've given is, let's say it's your room or your house and it's a mess, and it's because things have just been piling up for weeks, and now you're so overwhelmed because you're like, oh my gosh, look at all of these things that I need to either clean or work on, and it's such a daunting task that's in front of you. Instead of looking at all the things you have to do and how you have to get them done, maybe you look at one small area and you focus on that area and you say, okay, I know I have all of these other things that I need to get done, but right now I'm going to dedicate 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes. I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to put some music on, and I'm only going to focus on this area to clean. If there are things that belong in other areas in my house, I'm just going to grab it, put it there, not necessarily put it away for the moment, but just focus on this one area and accomplish this one thing. Now, let me explain the reason why I think this is helpful. One, because I've tried it myself and it helps me. But secondly, because a lot of the anxiety and that feeling of just being overwhelmed comes from some beliefs and thoughts that we have that are going on in our mind. So one thing that I've identified is that oftentimes when we're like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do, I have to do this, I have to do that, there's this hidden expectation of, I have items 1 to 10 that need to get done, and right now I feel like all of them need to get done right now, in this moment, which sucks because that's not realistic, right? We aren't octopuses that can have multiple arms and be doing all these things at one time. We're one human and that's it. We can only do so much in the time that we have. So part of it is battling that thought. Even sometimes vocalizing for ourselves, okay, I know I have all of these things to do. I cannot do all of them right now, but this I can do right now. For some people, lists help. For other people, lists make them more anxious. That is up to you what works for you. If lists help you to be able to identify, okay, these are the things that I can actually do now. These are the things that I am allocating for tomorrow or next week. Great. But if lists make you more overwhelmed, maybe not do a list, but instead go through your mind, and really you have a list in your mind. But go through that list in your mind and see which one is a priority, right? Which one needs to be done right now? Or which one am I capable of doing right now? And then when you have done that small portion for that specific amount of time, what I would encourage you to do is afterwards, give yourself some praise, or even if praise feels uncomfortable for you, acknowledge, okay, I said I wanted to do X, Y, or Z, and I did it. Great. That is something that is off of my list. Another thing that I would add is if you know yourself and you know that you get very overwhelmed with certain tasks, maybe be intentional and proactive. If we are aware that we're going to get anxious or overwhelmed inside of a certain situation or with certain items or tasks, maybe it is wise for us to set aside some time before to regulate ourselves. Take some deep breaths. Take a moment to go in our mind to a place that is calming and relaxing for ourselves if we can, and setting an intention in our head. For the next 20 minutes, I am going to be capable of accomplishing this task. I am choosing to focus on one task. I am choosing to accomplish what I set out to accomplish. I am capable of accomplishing what I want. Oftentimes, the biggest challenge is the mental hurdles that we have in front of us. So sometimes it might be necessary to spend a little time beforehand calming ourselves, regulating ourselves, prepping ourselves with intentions of how we want to proceed. If you are struggling right now and you're feeling really overwhelmed with what you see in front of you, you've got this. It might be hard, but you've got it. And there are things that you can do to make it easier. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have no issue with it. It's going to be great. You're going to have fun doing it. Not necessarily, right? Because sometimes we have to do things that aren't fun, aren't enjoyable. But you are capable. You are. And sometimes we need that reminder that we are capable, that we are strong enough, that we do have the capability to do things. Sometimes we just have a hard time believing it for ourselves. So I want to remind you, you are capable, you are strong, and you have the ability to accomplish things. If any of you have figured out a way to find some motivation for yourselves, share it in the comments below. If you have any questions or thoughts about what I talked about today, go ahead and leave a comment below. I hope you have a great day, and if you're not, I hope it gets better.